They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
Stop doing those diet or workout fads to lose weight. Use the tried and true approach from Rockin' That Idea Life that helps you find balance while enjoying food in moderation and nourishing your body. Try the Lean 30 program at rockinthatIdealife.com and let today be your last first day of your weight loss journey.
When buying or selling your home, you need to feel protected. Realtor Mike Burgoyne not only looks out for your interests, but as a St. Louis area police officer will make sure you feel safe and well-informed with every decision. Email Mike at strikewithmike.com and start the process today. That's Mike at strikewithmike.com.
Explained it pretty clearly.
Oh, we've got some. There you go. This is our first ever show, folks. Welcome to episode 11 of season 13. This is episode number 442 all time of the often imitated, never duplicated. The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Special thanks to our sponsors, Dustin from rockinthatIdealife.com and Realtor Mike Burgoyne. You can email at mike@strikewithmike.com for proudly sponsoring the show. Please check them out. Also, don't forget to check out our t-shirt shop at letsgoblues.com for some well-designed and fairly priced blues-themed t-shirts. It's Wednesday, December 20th, and we're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and apparently Instagram. I'm trying to get confirmation that that is the case, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess others might tell us later. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on all social channels is LGB Radio. Just search for us and you'll find us. And if you haven't already done so, please like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, buy a t-shirt from our shop, hire us as the coaching staff for your kids' hockey team, or do whatever you can do to help us out. I'm your host, Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by Bill Day. Kurt Price is facing allegations, and producer Austin is busy screening Eyes Wide Shut 2 Electric Boogaloo. The agenda for tonight includes Jordan. I got you, Bill. The agenda for tonight includes Jordan Kyrou's comments about his former head coach and how the fans reacted, Drew Bannister's first few games behind the bench, another coach firing in the NHL, all that and more on this very merry episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. So as I said, we're at least starting the show off without Mr. Kurt Price. He may be joining us later, but I am joined by Bill. Bill, how's it going? You ready for a big holiday season this year?
Getting there. Was choring, getting the house ready right up until about 10 minutes before start time here tonight. So, it's like a 3-week process in this house to get the house, up to Julie's Christmas standards, which get higher and higher every year. So lots of work, but we're almost there. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
I've just got like stray hair all over my Santa hat that I forgot to put on before the show started, but I just put it on, so we're good. But it is all over my face, and I'm gonna have to go nuts during the commercial break. Let's go ahead and take it now. I'm just kidding. I got a funny story for you for my evening. So, okay, I won't ask you what bank you use, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you what bank I use. My wife and I use U.S. Bank, and I had a terrible experience tonight, but funny, worth mentioning on the show, clearly. So what happened was, for some reason, they've got these new ATMs, and they look top of the line, state of the art, good stuff. But for whatever reason, and my wife says she doesn't have this problem, I cannot get it to take my deposits half the time. Like, I'll go to put money in, and it just won't take it. It'll just not even the wheels aren't even rolling to take the money or take the check. And so it's annoying. It's frustrating. I usually have to go to 2 or 3 just to get it to work. Well, tonight I was, I was outside. It was cold. It was windy. I had $240 cash that I was trying to put into my bank account. And I go to shove it in. It's not going in. Boom. Out pops my money. And gust wind comes, blows my $240 out of my hand. And I can see it just going across the parking lot. And I'm like, God. So I jump out of the car. There's 3 people behind me in line. They see me running after my money. I think I get it all. I put it in the car. I get out. I'm like, this effing thing. And I just take off. So then I go to another ATM and, I go inside of a Schnucks and I go to deposit it. I've only got $140. I'm like, oh, I lost one of the $100 bills. And so I was furious. I was mad. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw me tweet at US Bank and how mad I was. So I ended up saying, you know what? It's probably a lost cause. I'm going to drive back to the other ATM and I'm going to look for that $100. So I drive back and I pull up right next, like close to where the ATM's at. But there's people in line, so I'm not in front of the ATM, but I'm parked right next to them. Which I thought after I did that, I'm like, that probably made him a little nervous. Like, that's not normally something people do. But I was like, fuck it. I don't care. I'm just going to find my $100. So I get out the flashlight. I'm looking over the parking lot, not seeing it. I can feel this one woman's eyes on me in this car. And I think she's just nervous. Like, what is this guy doing? And then as I'm like walking back to the car, about to give up, there it is, right next to my tire. I could not believe it. Christmas miracle. It took me about 10 minutes to look and I finally found it. And I jump up and I'm yelling. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And the lady's got her window up and I see her and she is staring at me. And I'm just like, look, I found my $100. I found my $100. She's just giving me this crazy look. And I'm like, she has no idea what I'm doing. This is probably scaring the hell out of her. So I'm like, I need to go. So I just got in my car and left. But I was just ecstatic. I was like, I can't believe it. It's been 20 minutes since I've been here and it was still sitting there. But hey, all's well that ends well, right?
Yeah. And I think the moral of the story is pimping ain't easy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was not wearing this getup either. I was just wearing like a black hoodie and jeans. So like,
oh yeah,
I probably really look like a creep.
Yeah, you were totally sketch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lady, if some lady you know tells a story about a creep running around an ATM, please inform her of what happened.
Hopefully the police don't come knocking on your door during the show.
Let's hope not. We'll see.
We actually have allegations
That's true.
Derail the show.
I might actually have allegations against me for once. We'll see. Hopefully not. Well, let's we had an announcement real quick. So I actually have not checked, but I'm fairly certain Puck Podcast released an episode today. I was on this week to discuss mostly the Craig Berube firing, the Jordan Kyrou situation after, but we did talk about Drew Bannister and other things going on with the Blues. It was an interview. I was not a guest host. So tune in to the second period of the Puck Podcast if you want to hear my take on everything, which I shouldn't say this, but it's kind of silly to do that because you're about to hear it anyway. So if you want to hear it again, tune into the Puck Podcast.
Right. No, it's a listener challenge. And so the challenge is to see how many holes you can find in Ponder's story.
There you go.
Just test his consistency.
Yeah.
Easy for me to
There's
say.
going to be some inconsistencies. There usually is. Where we start with Kurt with beers of the episode, then we go to you and then me. So we'll go to you first, but official beers of episode number 442. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app. Kurt's at C Price 12. Me, Jeff Ponder, is at J Potter 94. Bill is at Billy Blue Note 33. Bill, please lead us off.
Well, it's cold outside, so it is definitely stout season. So I have the Rested Reserve. It is a very interesting sounding beer, double barrel aged wheated imperial stout from those fuckers across the state in Kansas City, the not soccer capital of America. Our Boulevard I've had several. You're probably drinking a Nutcracker. So we have we like us some Boulevard beer. So
that's the best part of Kansas City.
Yeah.
That and the Mavericks. Have you been out to a Mavericks game out there?
I've not. I've not been to a sporting event in KC.
So you've been to like a minor league hockey game before, I guess, right?
I went to a River Otters game.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, well, then to a certain extent, minor league hockey is just a whole other experience. It is so much fun.
It's all fan engagement.
It is. It's 100% get people in the building because that's how we make our money because they don't get the big TV contracts. So they do the chuck-a-puck, which I love. I would imagine most rinks still do that. But, yeah, River Otters were big on that. Literally, you're throwing pucks on the ice in first intermission. And, not real pucks, foam pucks, but you're trying to, like, hit certain targets. And I think a lot of times it's just, like, the center face-off dots and all that. But, and then they got, like, the T-shirt cannon. I mean, it's just always so much fun. So Mavericks games are fun, too, but definitely Boulevard is the best part of Kansas City. And you are correct in your assumptions, sir, unless you cheated and looked at X. I am drinking a Nutcracker tonight.
Yeah.
I figured because I had one last week, I'm like, I don't normally double up. But I was like, last show before Christmas, it's a fucking great beer. It's going to be off the shelves the minute Christmas hits. Might as well just go ahead and drink it. So good beer. Again, favorite Christmas beer out there.
Yeah, I polished off my what became a 5-pack because I had a party foul coming in from the car and lost one of them. It was I actually blame the packaging because it was how Boulevard packages in boxes rather than carryable 6-pack things. Yeah, the box failed and I dropped it and lost one of them. So but enjoyed the other 5 immensely. So
when Shay was when my son was he had just started walking. So he was a little late to the game because he's got some special needs. But whenever that was, I'm terrible with years. He had just gotten out of the car, and I picked up a one of those cubes of Dr. Pepper, and the handle just gave way. The thing smashed to the floor, and I mean, soda just started kind of shoots out, and it just shot out of like 3 cans. And it got all over me and all over him. I remember just looking at him, and he's just kind of standing there, like with his arms up. And he just looks down, and his pants are soaked. They're brown from the Dr. Pepper. And he just kind of looks up at me, and he just gives me this look like, what the fuck, Dad? And then he just started screaming because I guess it was probably cold and wet and surprised the hell out of him. But it was such a delayed reaction that I was like, yeah, that sucks, bud. I'm with you. This is the worst.
Yeah, I probably thought he was in trouble. Brown liquid on pants.
Yeah, that's usually his fault. That one was all me. All right, it was all Dr. Pepper. Screw that. That was not my fault. We got a couple happy holidays wishes coming in. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Thanks everybody. We appreciate it. Always good to hear from you guys. And I'll add too that I don't know how many views we get on Twitter. I don't even think we really look at that because it has never allowed comments before. So we've just kind of said, yeah, we'll stream on Twitter. Hopefully we get some views. Apparently now you can comment on Twitter. So if you are watching us on Twitter right now, apparently you can comment now and we will see the comments. I don't know how that works. I need to look into that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Plus, like I said, I think we're on Instagram too. So a lot of big things happening here for Let's Go Blues Radio. See what happens when Kurt doesn't show up.
We take it over. Well,
we do
take it over.
Exactly.
You know me. I am great at social media.
Yes, social media and technology. Bill is our man.
Those are my 2 favorite things.
Man, you guys are awesome. We're getting more. Ken Morris, Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas to you, Ken. And happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa. Happy Boxing Day. Yeah, Ken, you celebrate Boxing Day, right? Mr. Canadian. So happy all of that to everybody. So first big news story of the night. We've obviously got a lot to talk about, but this was one that came over the wire. Well, I saw it today, Bill. I don't know if you saw it anytime before that, but I believe the story was published today. Amazon Prime may be the new home for Blues and Cardinals games. Amazon is, quote, in talks to invest in Diamond Sports Group, a move that would advance the e-commerce giant's aggressive push into sports content as it takes on streaming rivals like Disney and Netflix. This was a report from the Wall Street Journal. Actually, it says it's a report on Monday, so I guess this is old news, but I just saw it today. If an agreement is reached, Prime Video, quote, would eventually become the streaming home for Diamond's games. Diamond, which has the local rights to about half the teams in MLB and National Basketball League, and about a third of the NHL teams, quote, will continue operating its cable networks through its existing partnerships, according to the report. So, sounds like there is at least a big possibility that Blues and Cardinals will be moving full time to Amazon Prime. Games. Obviously, we've got. Is that me or is that you?
That was me testing. I was trying to test the whole post to Twitter and comment thing, and as I said before, I'm bad at social media.
I might have to. I'll check it out at commercial break and see if there's anything different. I wonder if it's just like a reply to the video, maybe. I don't know. That's
what I tried, and so far, no good.
Okay, well. We'll test out a couple things, but that was Restream's big rollout today. But your take, Bill, for me, like I love streaming. And I know that streaming is becoming the new cable because they are just packaging everything together. Oh, you want to watch FX? Well, you got to watch National Geographic and pay for this and pay for that and all these other things. And I know that's kind of they're doing what cable has always done to us. So that's a shame, but I do like streaming better. I just like being able to just pick, that's what I want to watch right now, rewind, fast forward. So I'm all for this, but I know there is a large portion of the fan base that this would piss off. So your take, Bill.
Yeah, no, bring it on as soon as possible. I'm very much over having to deal with Spectrum and like my Spectrum bill right now is insane. And I tried everybody knows the trick, right? Call, threaten to move to something and they'll give you a deal. No, they won't. Not anymore. They are not doing that. You have to apparently have they segment their customer base, and apparently I am in the fuck them segment. So yeah, I am all about them moving on to Amazon, because I am a Prime subscriber, so I would get that, but and then I could say piss off. It's just my biggest thing, and quite honestly, my life doesn't allow it as much, but I would have to give up NHL Network, which not a big fan of doing that, but like I said, my life doesn't allow me to watch it all that much right now. So it's, if I go a year or two without it, okay, I'd be all for it.
I think we said this last week. That just needs to be a streaming service, NHL Network. Like, to me, and again, I know we've said this before. Kurt said it. I think you've even said it. We've all said it. To me, that's not a moneymaker. That is expose the game, expose our league to anyone. And so if it's, hey, your cable provider doesn't pick it up, that's okay. Just go to NHLnetwork.com and you can stream it live. Like, that's how that should be. And I think if something like this happens where you're literally pulling a section of your fans off of cable to go on to Amazon Prime, because again, it's not just Bally Sports Midwest. It'd be all the Bally Sports entities, which is, like they said in the report, a third of the NHL. They're all going to be moving over to a streaming platform. So there needs to be an option to stream NHL Network if they're going to do that. Otherwise, you're literally telling people, if you want the whole NHL package, you have to have cable and stream. that sucks. That is where it's like, come on, like pick one. Like
Right.
as annoying as it is that they have the blackouts and all that, if they went to like basically to get our full access, you need to have both. That's completely asinine. So
Right.
that would need to change.
And I can't imagine that the ad revenue that they're making from JG Wentworth and direct to home catheter materials is all that much. But that's the only advertising you see on that show
Yep.
or on that channel, right?
It still kind of is. If you watch it during the day, like that's all it is like infomercials. So anyway, want to divide by zero asked Jeff, can you explain why this would tick some fans off? So the best example I think was when Albert
live in
Pujols,
America?
Yeah.
Any decision will piss somebody off.
Yep. I think the best example is when Albert Pujols hit home runs number 699 and 700. That was Amazon Prime, wasn't it?
No, that was Apple. That was Apple.
That's right. It was on Apple TV. So,
Yes.
And again, divide by zero. I don't think you live in St. Louis. I don't even know if you're a Cardinals fan. So maybe you don't know what happened. But basically, Albert was going last year for 700 home runs in his career, which is ridiculous. Only a select few players have done that. I want to say 4. Could be wrong. And there was one game coming up late in the season, and people were even kind of circulating on the calendar and saying, he better not hit 700 in this one game possible because it's going to be streamed on Apple TV, even though it was free. It was free to stream that game. You didn't have to buy Apple TV. You just had to download the app. But, of course, that's the game. Albert Pujols hits 2 home runs, 699 and 700. And there was a large portion, probably mostly older, of the fan base that were livid. They were absolutely livid. Because they said, I pay for this cable service. I pay for Bally's. I pay for Fox. Why the hell can I not have seen Albert Pujols' 7th home run live? Again, that game in particular was silly because it was free. All you need to do is download the app. But you know how some people, sorry, Bill, how old people are with technology.
Hey, no, the elderly one is not here yet. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
but anyway,
I'm sure he's going to have a word to say about it because he did at the time.
Yes, he did. But no, that's why I think there's a lot of people who say they're happy with cable, which cable's fine, especially again with how streaming services have really kind of skyrocketed in price. But I think there's a large portion of people who say, I am keeping cable. I'm never going streaming. And so if they move Blues and Cardinals to streaming only, except for obviously like TNT and ESPN games, then that's going to piss off that section of the fan base. It's unfortunate, but Bill, like you said, there's nothing you can do that won't piss people off nowadays.
Yeah, it's the truth. And I'll tell you, my cable experience right now, I am paying Spectrum for the full cable experience, except I do it through streaming devices. So it's like the worst of both worlds. So we're taking a hard look. We have way too many subscriptions. So if I can downgrade and not have to carry a full thing of Spectrum while I have Amazon Prime streaming, as a part of my Amazon Prime account, you better believe I will cut Spectrum in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. I know a lot of people would. I actually, my mom, that's the only reason she held on to cable for so long, was because she liked being able to get the Cardinals and Blues games for when me, my brother, and a bunch of people came over. And not even really for her, just for us, because she knew we enjoyed it. And so when we finally talked her out of it, she's like, well, how am I going to get the Cardinals and Blues games? And we're like, well, we can probably pull it up on our phone app and then stream it to your TV. And she's like, that's too difficult. So we finally talked her into it. This would actually, an old person, sorry, Mom, if you're listening, this would make her happy because she did finally go to streaming. And she's like, I miss not being able, she missed all of the last season of Pujols, Molina, and last year with Wainwright. So, this would make her happy. And like I said, it would make me happy. I like it. I like streaming. I think that is the future, even though they're kind of price gouging people a little bit now. I do think that's the way to go. So I'm all for it. We'll see what happens. There's plenty of time to go. It was announced the Cardinals will definitely be on Valley Sports Midwest all through the 2024 season. This sounds like this change might happen in September of next year. So that'll be right before the Blues season starts. So stay tuned to Let's Go Blues Radio, because we will keep you updated on what happens if you have no idea. You like that?
We make a good middleman.
That's my radio voice right there. Stay tuned to Let's Go Blues Radio. Bill, we are hard up against a break. So we are going to take a quick break here. You are listening to Jeff and Bill on Let's Go Blues Radio. When we get back, we will talk about everything Blues, including Jordan Kyrou, Craig Berube fallout, Drew Bannister behind the bench for the Blues, anything else that pops up over the last 3 games as well. Again, you are listening to Jeff and Bill on Let's Go Blues Radio.
We'll return after these messages.
We've all tried a diet or workout fad at one time or another, but it always ends the same, right? We either lose the weight and then get back to our routine, but then put the weight right back on, or it just simply never takes hold. It's time to move into a habit-based program that focuses on organization and simplicity. Rock and That Idea Life's Lean 30 lays it all out for you with the correct food to eat, how to meal prep, and even sprinkles in plenty of healthy recipes. With Lean 30, you'll get the full ID Life arsenal, including energy for that needed kick, a tasty Nourish shake for your needed fiber intake, Slim Plus to help control your cravings and provide a metabolic boost, Lean capsules help bust those sugar cravings, and IED Nutrition gives you the added punch you need that takes the guesswork out of what supplements to take. Join the many who are seeing success and make this your last first day on a new program. Visit rockandthatidealife.com to get started, and remember to email Dustin at rockandthatidealife@gmail.com for an extra 10% off exclusively for Let's Go Blues Radio listeners. Start your transformation to the confident, vibrant person you've always wanted to be with rockandthatidealife.com.
St. Louis hockey fans know how it takes a reliable captain and a team of hard workers to achieve major goals. As a police officer and a hockey player, Realtor Mike Burgoyne would wear the C in any situation. As a leader in the home buying or selling process, Mike has surrounded himself with a team of trustworthy inspectors, lenders, and escrow officers that work together more cohesively than Hall & Oates. And as a member of many teams in his life, Mike knows the service our first responders, veterans, nurses, teachers, and yes, even you Let's Go Blues Radio listeners provide the community, so he offers special rates to those individuals. Find the value in Mike's leadership and teamwork today by emailing him at mike@strikewithmike.com or calling 314-753-4060. He'll work closely with you and only show you the homes that match your goals. That email again is mike@strikewithmike.com or call him at 314-753-4060 and succeed with your new teammate today.
Buddy, where's the spatula?
Okay, kids, let's go.
There's just one place to go for all your spatula needs.
Spatula City! Spatula City!
A giant warehouse of spatulas for every occasion. Thousands to choose from in every shape, size, and color. And because we eliminate the middleman, we can sell all our spatulas factory direct to you. Where do you go when you want to buy name brand spatulas at a fraction of retail cost?
Spatula City! Spatula City!
And this weekend only, take advantage of our special liquidation sale. Buy 9 spatulas, get the 10th one for just 1 penny. Don't forget, they make great Christmas presents.
And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a spatula? Spatula City! Spatula City!
Hello, this is Cy Greenbloom, president of Spatula City. I like their spatulas so much, I bought the company.
Spatula City, 7 locations. We're in the yellow pages under spatulas.
My, where did you get that lovely spatula?
Spatula City, we sell spatulas, and that's all.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the
longest
running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
Well, I looked on Twitter and Instagram, and I don't know how to comment on Twitter, and I don't see us live on Instagram, so
we probably
might take a
haven't-
little refiguring.
Right. We probably haven't paid the right fee to Elon to get comments to come through. And
that's what it is.
Who knows? Who knows about Instagram?
I don't know.
I would wonder if we're streaming on Instagram, does that also then spill over onto Threads?
Oh my goodness. Who knows? I have no idea. Possibly. I don't know. We don't.
I rely on you, since I am bad at social media, to know these things.
I will pop over there very soon and take a look, but I have no idea. I just have no idea. Good Lord. There's a very attractive woman on my television set.
Are you watching the Kings game?
Yes.
it's just an eczema commercial.
Oh, okay. That's all it is. All right. Good to know. All right. So, folks, we will start off here talking about pretty much what I think everybody thought we would talk about, especially if you saw the title of the show, which, by the way, did you see Matthew Carpenter's comment here on Facebook? I don't know if it'll display the whole thing here. No, it will not. So if you're just living under a rock and you didn't look at the name of the show, I decided to have a little fun with it. I called it Do, Date, or Dump, Kyrou, Armstrong, or Berube. And he actually answered here. I haven't listened yet here, but are mine. I haven't listened yet, but here are mine. Dump Kyrou. Anyone 25 years old and cries being booed for poor play is as soft as a baby's butt. You can't be a competitive athlete and be that soft. Date Armstrong. He has made a lot of mistakes lately, but his track record says he can fix this mess. I still have faith. Do Berube. A good coach got fired because of a roster he didn't construct that is just plain flawed. It has some good pieces, but it just doesn't mesh. Thank you for answering the fun little question. Bill, you have thoughts on Do, Date, or Dump?
No.
No.
I would just get myself in trouble.
I'll say Do Kyrou, date Berube, and dump Armstrong.
No, I would say I would do Kyrou, young and hot.
Yeah, right. He's got moves on the rink. Maybe he's got rooms in bed or moves in bed.
Dump Berube because coaches get stale. And
that's true.
Yeah, and date Armstrong because he's going to be around a while.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
GM for life, baby.
And I think we just lost all of our listeners. All right, so let's talk.
At least those that were on Twitter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Because they tried to comment, they couldn't.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, guys. Jordan Kyrou's comments about Craig Berube's firing, and he got some backlash from fans for it, which we will discuss. So, again, for those of you who maybe are unaware with what happened in this situation, if you've been turned off from Blues hockey in the past week, so again, as you know, Craig Berube was let go at the end of the Red Wings game last Thursday, before the Blues took on the Ottawa Senators. Jeremy Rutherford, friend of the show, asked Kyrou on his relationship with Craig Berube, and his quote was, "I've got no comment. He's not my coach anymore." He did go on to speak about Drew Bannister, the interim head coach, and did make comments about how he's looking to make a fresh start, get their culture back, things like that. But obviously, this was the context we were given. We'll talk more about what Rutherford said later and all that. But that was what came out on Thursday. Thursday. So that the game goes on that night. So the fans, first of all, okay, let me just say this. So I don't know if you saw the video. Our friend Brandy Capone found it. So Doug Armstrong, they showed the press conference at Enterprise Center for Doug Armstrong announcing Craig Berube's firing. And he was lit up with booze. I mean, Kyrou got it bad. I thought Armstrong's was even worse. And there were less people in the bowl than
because it's their pregame.
Yeah, it was pregame, and it was louder than anything Kyrou heard. I mean, it was deafening. And I just thought, what was the in-game crew thinking? Why would they show that before the game? If you pay attention to, and I know social media might just be a fraction of the audience, but if you judge by social media, there's a good portion of Blues fans who are pissed off about this firing. He's your only Stanley Cup winning coach. Why did you show that press conference?
It's because that's what they do, right? Anytime Armstrong has a press conference, they put it up on the video board before the game. I thought everybody in this whole thing was tone deaf.
Yeah.
Kyrou especially, right?
Yes.
And that's, I friend of the show, Jeremy Rutherford, right? He's the one that published that, right? And he came out to clarify, to try to give it more context. And he promised to be better about giving context going forward. But I'm sure that got exactly what his bosses at The Athletic wanted, right? It was a stale atmosphere in St. Louis gets livened up by, a comment without enough context. And, it's Kyrou should know better, right? But what I think, what appears to be happening to me is that it has kind of reignited the emotional side of him, right? He the whole breaking down in tears and crying, to him it was just a comment, and he didn't think about it at the time he said it, right? It was just, I don't want to talk about that, right? And if he puts it that way, like like Berube, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to talk about this, right? If he puts it that way, fine. But it's, he's not my coach anymore. Oh, that's, that's like, the kind of thing that just, it's social media fodder. And we don't get a lot of that with St. Louis Blues, right? It's a very controlled atmosphere. And that it was something that everybody kind of jumped on.
So I'll just add more context again real quick. So the fans booed Kyrou when he was announced as a starter in the Ottawa game. You mentioned tone deaf. I feel like Drew Bannister was a little tone deaf here.
Mm-hmm.
That was his, and it's funny to think about it because you really think about it. That's his first external move as a Blues coach. Is I'm announcing the starters for the game, and it's a home game. That's his first big move as a Blues coach. And he got it wrong. I'm sorry. You do not start Jordan Kyrou after the backlash he got on social media. Literally fans on social media saying, I'm going to be at the game tonight. I'm going to boo him. And I don't know. I know Drew Bannister is not sitting on his, flipping through X or Facebook and just being like, oh, yeah, it looks like everyone hates Kyrou. No, I mean, know that. But there had to be somebody who told him, hey, man, Kyrou's not loved right now. Don't let him get announced as a starter in the game. But that just never happened. He got announced, and he got a rousing boo from the crowd.
Right. No, to me, it's a guy who is coming in, right? He's not getting in till Wednesday, coming from Springfield, right? So he's got to make the travel, and he's got to try to, make sure he's got living arrangements, and got to make sure that he's connecting with the right people in the front office. And so he probably took all of 10 minutes to think about who's my starting lineup. What's going to be what's going to make the biggest, what's going to make the most sense, right? Is
go with the number one line,
right? This is a new era. I'm reuniting the number one line, and he's not paying attention to what's going on the social medias. So it happened, right? But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that, like we said, it's like the whole thing kind of comes off as tone deaf by everybody.
Yes, agree. So then, of course, fans continue to boo Kyrou every time he touches the puck, even received a rousing boo when he got an assist on Pavel Buchnevic's goal, which we'll talk about later. I loved that goal. That was very pretty. Kyrou, after the game, his quote was, and there were tears, holding back tears at first, and then did visibly cry in front of the cameras. Sorry if it sounded in a bad way at all. I'm just really trying to focus on the future here and focus on what I can do to help get the wins for the boys. I obviously respect Chief. He's been my coach the whole time I've been here. I respect everything he's done. He won a cup, you know. I'm just trying to focus on my future and focus on what I can do to help my team win. That's all I really meant. Then reporters did kind of push a little bit more. He says, it's just tough. I love playing here, so it's just tough to hear the fans booing me there. And yeah, he was visibly upset. And I'll tell you, so Bill, listen, we had a ton of people that we talked to that were on the other side of this that, don't boo Kyrou. What he said wasn't that bad. And he was just saying the thing that I saw people saying, he said no comment. Like, all he said was no comment. No, that's not all he said. I think if he just says no comment, I think people might still say, oh, well, yeah, he doesn't want to talk about it because him and Berube didn't have a good relationship. But I don't think it turns into, holy shit, what a little bitch. Because that is what people were wanting to say about Kyrou. And I think it's that last part of it that makes the no comment mean so much more. It was, he's not my coach anymore. Well, yeah, dude, we know that. But you're getting asked about your relationship with the guy. And, we've all seen I don't remember what game that was last year when Kyrou and Berube were yelling at each other on the bench. We've seen Kyrou get benched before. We've seen him get held off in important moments. Clearly, there's some issues between those two. So when you factor all that in, we could read between the lines. And I thought that it was, you mentioned tone deaf. I thought it was a little tone deaf by some people who said, what's he supposed to say? Do you want him to lie? And yeah, a little bit. The way that I see it is, and I know that they're in the public spotlight and this is just kind of how things go, but the way that I see it is a guy just got fired. Like, a dude just lost his job. Yeah, he's still getting paid. I know that. But you don't think Craig Berube's a little upset that he just got let go from the team he won a Stanley Cup with? Like, to me, it's, yeah, maybe you have a problem with Berube. Maybe over the summer next year, if you go on Spittin' Chicklets or something, maybe then you'd say, like, yeah, he's not my coach anymore. I don't want to talk about him. Right now, you take the high road and you just say, yeah, it's unfortunate we didn't play well in front of him, but we're looking forward to getting Drew Bannister in here and seeing what he can do for us and, building a positive future with him. Something along those lines, like, and that was literally just off the top of my head. Like, this guy is PR trained. He should have had a better line ready. He knew he was going to get asked something along those lines. And to me, he didn't take the high road. He took the shit road. He wanted to go down the gravel pathway and drag this out. And again, maybe he didn't mean that. Like, he didn't mean to make it a big thing. But when you're underperforming too, that's going to be how people take it.
Part of me wants to give him more benefit of the doubt and say maybe he was worried that JR was going to go down the path with anybody in the media, but JR is the guy that was questioning him, right? Are you a coach killer, right? And there's a bit of guilt, right? Every player that has been, in a locker room where the coach has been moved, unless there is 100% animosity, like Mike Keenan level animosity, there's got to be some level of guilt if you had any kind of connection to the guy that got canned, right? Yeah, and there's probably something to that Kyrou was feeling and wanting to stay away from, and but yeah, my hope for this whole thing is that this is going to trigger the maturation process for him to get into high gear, because that's my biggest knock on the guy, right? He's been in this league for long enough now. He needs to be more mature. And if there's anything to say from his place since that happened, he's got a fire lit right now.
Yep. And I'll say, I think that it's funny because, I'll just go ahead and mention him by name. Everyone knows we all love Steven Ground and Two Guys, One Cup podcast. But Steven did kind of fly off the rails a little bit when the video of Kyrou kind of went, it did for hockey fans, at least. It went viral. Everyone saw it. They mentioned it on Spittin' Chicklets. I saw the reporters talking about it. So that video went viral of him afterward crying on camera. And I know Steven, and again, he's not the only one, but a bunch of people were like, look what you did. You pissed off a potential superstar. He's going to want out. Are you fucking happy? You bunch of assholes. Like, those were almost exact quotes from Steven. I got to say, I think this is the reaction people wanted. This is the reaction I wanted. I wanted him to hear the boos. And listen, I wasn't at the game. People, I got asked on the Puck podcast, if I were there, would I have booed Kyrou? That's a tough question to answer. I think I might have for the starting lineup. But I think after that, I would have let it go. But because I didn't appreciate that comment, to be honest. I didn't at all. I thought that was, again, taking the low road. But yeah, I think that's the reaction we all wanted. I think it was, yeah, he heard him. It struck a chord with him. And now it's a learning process for him. It's okay. This was a guy that was beloved. I probably shouldn't go to the Blues Reporter and talk shit on this guy again, especially when I'm not producing the way I should be. So yeah, everyone's going to hate you when you pull that shit. It's like you said, it's a maturity thing. To me, a mature NHL player, let's say him and Binnington, him and Thomas had some kind of rivalry with each other. I don't think you're hearing Thomas or Binnington say anything like this. You might get a no comment, but that's it. It's not followed up with any other qualifier. It's what he said, the way he said it, and again, knowing the past history with those two, I wanted him. I'm not saying I wanted him in tears, because that did kind of hurt a little to see him cry on camera. I mean, see these guys out there doing all this crazy shit on the ice. You forget they're human sometimes. But like, I did want him to kind of backstep and be like, oh shit, yeah, what I said was stupid. I need to clarify, and I need to kind of push back and say, I'm sorry. That's what he did. And I think it's just a great learning moment for Jordan Kyrou. So that was after the game. So the next game, everyone was kind of interested in what happened, knowing the patterns from St. Louis hockey and just St. Louis sports fans in general. You knew what was going to happen, right? You knew he was going to get cheered. I know some people were saying, is he still getting booed? And I'm like, there's no fucking way. Because he backtracked, there's no way he's going to get booed again. So next game, Kyrou's no longer booed. Even got a slight cheer when he took the ice for his first shift. I was at this game, so I witnessed it live, and I was part of the people that cheered him. So he scored on a breakaway in the second period, and it got very loud, because it wasn't one of those that was like a shot from the point, did it go off Kyrou? This was a breakaway. Jordan Kyrou definitely got the goal. It was a beautiful shot. Great break-in from the zone. That's what you want to see from him. And we haven't seen a lot from him getting that this year. So I was at that game, as I said, and that is honestly, and this is going to sound crazy, if any of you listening right now agree with me, if you were at the game, that was one of the loudest I've heard Enterprise since the Game 7 watch party in 2019. I mean, obviously there's been other moments, winning playoff series, other things like that. But this to me was one of the louder moments I've heard in the last 4 years, because I think fans wanted him to know, hey, it's okay. You fucked up. We forgive you. So he ends up getting the first star of the game with a goal and 2 assists. Again, insanely loud cheers from the crowd. He gets, first star, gets interviewed by the Blues color commentator, which is Jamie Rivers. In his post-game interview, he says, quote, and he did say this, quote, "It's fucking awesome. Fucking, I love playing here. Love this rink. anytime the fans that rally behind you, it's unbelievable. I really felt the love today for sure. Well, you know what's funny too, Bill? It was so loud cheering for him at the end of the game. I didn't hear him curse twice.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know until the next morning. I got home and somebody was like, "How about that Kyrou on a text?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was pretty great." He's like, "No, what he said after the game." I'm like, "What did he say after the game?" "You were there. You didn't hear him?" And I'm like, "No, it was too loud. All I heard him say was, 'I love playing here.' That was the only thing I could make out." So yeah, I didn't even know. That's how loud it was in that arena.
Yeah, no, it's I mentioned this before the show. Bally's didn't bleep it, right? They both times, and you could tell how loud it was, like that they probably didn't pick up the first time he said it. They probably should have got the second one, but yeah, it was pretty awesome to see. And I was out Saturday night, and I didn't watch it until Sunday morning. Actually, I watched it in pieces. So I watched half of it Sunday and half of it Tuesday. After the Tampa game, I went back and finished it. But yeah, so I actually watched Kyrou's comments last night after the Tampa game. Yeah, as we get to the Tampa game, it'll be obvious that I didn't do anything but watch that game on fast forward, and I hope the rest of you did the same thing, because
no need to watch anymore.
It was awesome, or that was awful.
Yep. So the Baked Beaver says his emotions were definitely real when he was breaking down, but he needs to show up like 10 games ago. And he adds, "I felt compassion towards his tears, but mostly I hope it humbled him." And I'm 100% with you. Again, so actually right after the game ended, I took my nephew to see the Marvels, and I was sitting in the theater. It's kind of similar to last week when I was laying in bed when Berube got fired. I'm sitting in the theater, and my phone just vibrate. I'm like, what the hell? So I finally just like, there's nobody else in the theater. It was just me and him. And so I was like, fuck it, I'll pull my phone out. And I looked, and I saw like, holy shit, Kyrou's interview, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, he was crying. And so I'm like, oh man. And I couldn't wait till the end of the movie to like, I went to the bathroom and watched it while I'm standing at the urinal, and I'm like, holy shit. And I kind of, again, this sounds mean. This is just kind of my reaction to a lot of things. I kind of laughed because I was just like, oh man. Like it's kind of like in disbelief. Like, man, it got him that bad. Like, that's how upset he was. And let's face it, and I'm not saying I blame the media at all. But the media, they were kind of pushing him. They kind of wanted to get more out of him. And I think him just continuing to have to answer those questions, it just started welling up in his eyes, and it happened. But yeah, I actually felt bad. I was blown away, and I was happy because I thought, good for you, man. You made a mistake. And then again, like I said, I was excited because I'm like, man, I got tickets Saturday night. We're going to cheer him. It's going to be a great moment if he scores. And man, if he gets one of the stars of the game, it all came true. I mean, I think either way with him scoring that goal, even if that's the only point on the night, I think the Blues are purposely giving him first star of the game because it's like, let's get him that interview. But I loved it. I thought everything about that game he played, that was one of his better games of the season. Back checking hard, skating hard, saw that speed. And just overall, like seeing him so happy after the game and just, oh my God, this is great. This is unbelievable. I love playing here. That kind of stuff. It was a great moment for me and for him and for everyone involved. And again, like the Big Beaver said, I hope it humbled him, and I think it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Humbled and helped in the maturation process.
Again, Big Beaver, candidate for comment of the show. I like this. He says he needs to run on that emotion and that momentum. Agree 100%. So talking about these games, moving on a little bit from the Kyrou and Berube aftermath. Drew Bannister, let's talk about the new head coach. Wins his first game as a St. Louis Blue. 4-2 over the Ottawa Senators. Bannister, as we said earlier, he reunited the Buchnevich-Thomas Kyrou line, and it did pay off for him. Every one of those players had at least a point. What did you think going into this game? I hated it, personally. I was like, I've said it before. I feel like Thomas isn't Thomas when he's with Kyrou. And I did not like bringing that line back together, but hey, guess what? It worked.
Yeah, no, I thought it was like at first I was very doubtful, right? It's like, all right, what is the like bare minimum move that I can make to have an impact on this team and put it back together? But maybe he felt something that we as fans couldn't see. We'll see how they come out tomorrow after last night's debacle. But at this point, it looks a little better. Neighbors kind of being relegated to the third line. He was doing well, but kind of started to level off. I think it was probably the right time to make that move. But yeah, I mean, just the timing, I guess you could say, is a little suspect.
Yeah. I thought, and I like Ken Morris's comment here too. I like Neighbors with Thomas. Yeah, 100%. And you're right, Bill. I do think it was time to kind of, I feel like the flair has kind of worn off a little bit with Neighbors. So kind of, again, talk about humbling. Let's humble that player a little bit, drop him down in the lineup, see what he can do in a bottom six role. But I just thought it was funny looking at the lineup. It was very similar to what we saw opening night. It was kind of like, all right, we're resetting. Let's get back to where we thought we would be on opening night. And, you saw that with the first and second line mostly. Obviously, Hugh McGing was in there, and Jacob Verana is no longer with the team. Mackenzie McEachern's up. But still, I thought the lineup was very similar to that, including the defense. And I was like, oh, Bannister thinks this is what's going to work for him. And hey, it credit to him. It did pay off. Blues played a pretty good game that night.
Right. And I guess if you think about it in the simplicity of it, right? Let's reset to how it was at the beginning, but now instead of Verana, who wasn't cutting the mustard, you got an energy guy who's bringing it every shift in Hugh McGing. And you can plug players off the fourth line into the third line and maybe get some different results. It's worked, right? Well, at least until last night.
Yeah, right. Let me ask you. So the crew I was with Saturday night, which I've got a story coming up about that, which you'll laugh at because one of the gentlemen that were with me. So number 56 is what Hugh McGing's wearing. Every time I see a guy who wears a number that's like not your typical hockey number, I always associate it with a former Blue. So when you see 56, is there any name that comes to mind for you?
Magnus Pajärvi.
That's what somebody else said. I even though he's my twin, I still think of Lubo Spartechko, friend of the show.
Yes.
But I still, every time I see 56, I was like, first thing in my mind, I was like, oh, it's Lubo Spartechko. Nope. He has been retired for like 15 years.
Yeah. And it feels like Magnus Pajärvi should have been retired for 15 years.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, he should be playing on my H&A team with me.
Yeah.
Magnus, anytime you want to play, give me a call.
Right. Unless the Blues have the Wild in the first round, then we want him out there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why you come back to St. Louis. That way, if the Blues play the Wild, they can just sign you to like a, 7-game contract. So again, Mackenzie McEachern makes his season debut for the Blues. Again, he was not with the Blues organization the last couple of years, but he comes back this year, started in Springfield. He played in 8 minutes and 48 seconds and had 4 hits. I don't remember all 4 of his hits, but I do remember one behind the net, and it was a pretty big hit. And I thought, if that's the energy we're getting from McEachern every single night, I welcome it. But it just felt like when he was an everyday player, that kind of play just tailed off, and we just didn't see it as much. So He did continue to play, so we'll see if we mention him the rest of the way. But I don't know. Did you even notice McEachern out there when you watched parts of this game?
I did. And it's because John Kelly's pronunciation of his name has always been like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yes.
McEachern.
McEachern.
No, it's McEachern.
I don't get it. One that I don't, it doesn't bother me, but there's one that Kerber says on the radio, and I think I've mentioned it on the show, that it always makes me giggle. The way he says Buchnevich, it sounds like he's like one of those records that you play backwards, because it's like Buchnevich, and it's like, what? Like, what is that pronunciation? It's like Buchnevich.
He's channeling some kind of inner Russian dialogue that he's got going on.
Maybe a little Yakov Smirnov.
He's Pavel Buchnevich. He likes the borscht.
In communist Russia, hockey plays you. So in this game, shots were 34-30 Ottawa. Bennington stopped 32 of 34. Thought he looked pretty solid in this game. And on the power play, this was the first game where Brad Richards was officially helping out the Blues power play again from afar. Actually, I found out he doesn't live in Tampa. I was watching the Tampa broadcast last night. Apparently, he lives on the other side of the state. He lives oceanside in Florida. So I don't know exactly where, but that's all they said on the Tampa broadcast. So either way, lives in sunny Florida. I'm sure he's having the time of his life just reviewing tape for a living and telling people, hey, don't do that, do this.
Right.
Good for
him. Getting a paycheck to do it.
Yep, exactly. Right. 0 for 3 in this game. Obviously, Richards was hired very, very recently, so I'm sure not much input in this game yet. Ottawa went 0 for 2 on the power play. So Drew Bannister keeps his winning percentage at 1,000%. I mean, my God, best coach in Blues history so far. They win this one 4-3 over Dallas in overtime. One fun note going into this game, the Stars signed the Blues emergency backup, Joe O'Brien, to an amateur tryout agreement to serve as the emergency backup behind Scott Wedgwood after Jake Ottinger left in the first period Friday with a lower body injury against Ottawa. And this was due to salary cap issues. Bill, I want to, I don't know, we might have talked about this before. We've had so many damn shows, I can't remember. Don't get me wrong. I love the emergency backup thing. I hope that never goes away. I know some people have said they need to have like a third goalie always there on the payroll, whatever. I love it. I think it's great. But this is a situation that I hate it, because to me, this wasn't Jake Ottinger got hurt in pregame and we can't get a goalie here. This is our salary cap is fucked. So we have to sign this guy and basically not pay him. And to me, I think that's bullshit. I think this should be an emergency. They literally call it an emergency situation. In an emergency situation, you should be able to go over the cap, or I don't know. There should be some kind of rule, and I'm not a CBA specialist, but to where they could at least call in one of their AHL goalies, or if they have to, even get somebody from the ECHL or something to get like an actual professional goalie as your backup. Because just imagine Scott Wedgwood gets hurt in warmups. You got a guy that's a Blues season ticket holder as your starting goalie. Come on. To me, that's ridiculous.
On one side of the coin, it feels Bush League, right? Not to have a professional available to play. On the other side, and the NHL needs this, and they exploit the hell out of it. Everybody loves an e-bug story. I mean, come on. The Zamboni driver that comes on and beats the Leafs in their own building. Greatest story of all time, right? I love it. And who's the guy in Chicago, right? The accountant, that's Scott. I would say Scott Darling, but
that's where my mind went too.
He always kind of seemed like an e-bug that got an extended look. But yeah, no, it's when I was a kid growing up, that was always my dream, right? Oh my God, Greg Millen and Rick Walmsley collided in warm-ups and they're both hurt. We need somebody. Oh, anybody? It's like Airplane. Is there a doctor? Is there a doctor in the house? Like, oh, I have pads. Right, but come to find out, that was Lindsey Middlebrook's job back in those days. Former NHL goalie Lindsey Middlebrook and season ticket holder and all that. But I will never tire. Kurt succeeded from the allegations.
Yes,
I will.
His trial must have just ended.
Yeah, I will never tire of e-bugs, especially here in the market, right? A guy that grew up in St. Louis, played, won a state championship. A great story. Friend of the show, Andy Strickland, got a great interview in between periods with his dad, proprietor of OB Clark's and OB's. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, reach out to radio at Let's Go Blues.
.com.
Yeah, I almost got it.
So close. You forgot the easiest part.
Yeah, .com. I don't know if we're .net or .ru at this point. I don't know.
.ru. We should get the .ru.
Yeah. So,
why not?
But yeah, I found out like half of my work group went to OB Clark's yesterday, just out of the blue. And I'm like, man. And I wasn't in the office. I would have been there in a heartbeat to shake that guy's
I was gonna
hand.
say they went without you, but I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have been there shaking his hand. That's my favorite thing, right? He wakes up in the morning, goes into the family restaurant and is schlepping kegs and gets a call and shows up and is dressed in a Dallas Stars uniform that night. It's an amazing story. Don't know I hope where that happens.
I mean, I hope that now maybe he's, I'm sure he's going to have something special with that jersey because he gets to keep it. But I hope they hang, or maybe they buy another one and hang that jersey in OB Clark's. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Price, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm here. You guys started already? My gosh. I'm only
just about 5 minutes ago.
Only an hour. And 5 minutes late.
We're on Beers of the Episode now. So
nice. Good. I made it just in time.
Now, let me ask you, Kurt.
Yep.
So I just asked Bill this question. I don't know if you heard it, but with this specific situation with Joe O'Brien in goal, I love the e-bug story, and it's great, and I hope that it goes on forever. But with this being not a Jake Ottinger got hurt before the game, we need somebody. This is a salary cap. We can't have a goalie here. I hate that rule. I think the NHL needs to find a way to say, yeah, you're going to be over the cap tonight or whatever, but there should be a professional ready. Because if Scott Wedgwood gets hurt in warmups, you're starting some fucking kid who's sitting in the stands as your e-bug. Like that to me is crazy.
No.
What are your thoughts?
And let me clarify. I never got to that point, but to me, it's on the Players Association to get this negotiated into the next CBA.
Yeah, I agree.
Why couldn't they not dress someone else to be cap?
They were over the cap.
I know to be cap compliant.
So basically, saying dress 17 skaters instead.
Yeah, I mean, the league should say if it's a salary cap issue, you have to have two goalies. You have to. They could write that in, and I love the e-book situation too, but in this particular case, it does seem strange that they couldn't finagle their roster in some other way to get that second goalie on the. It seems like a really clever way because chances are your starter's not going to get hurt, right?
Right.
So the e-bug won't come into play. Chances are. So you can skirt the cap
if it's
that
a situation if it's a situation where he's getting lit up, it's like, who cares? He needs to stay. Wedgwood staying in. It's 8-1. We don't care. But in a situation where it's like, holy shit, we have to play this guy. Like, we don't have a choice. Otherwise, we'll skate 6. Yeah, there needs to be something on the books. I know that it's because I think everyone on the 23-man roster would have to go through waivers to get sent down to bring up a goalie. That's why they didn't want to do it. I get that to a certain extent, but it's like, man, there's got to be something you can do.
That's the team's fault for being over the cap. That's their own problem. I don't, you know what I mean? I mean, other teams deal with this. They don't have to jump through this hoop. I mean, if you're over the cap, you're over the cap. Fuck it. Now there's no rule from the league saying you have to have 2 goalies, I guess. So you bring in the e-bug. I mean, it was clever. It was a clever way to get around the cap issue. But it was risky, but clever. But again, they made this bed, that they were in. So the teams that are over the cap that have to in a game and have to go, shorter forward or whatever. We've seen that a lot actually. That's their own fault. Yep. There's no. I don't feel sorry for teams that have that happen to them whatsoever, because that's their own doing.
Yep, I agree with that. I get that I get that. Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe what you said is right, that it's just you can't play if you don't have 2 goalies. Like, so you have to put someone through waivers, or
right. If it's a cap issue,
you have to figure it out.
If it's a cap issue, if it's an injury issue, and they just can't get a guy there in time, but exactly. And then you have teams say, "Oh, well, he's hurt and he can't play," so that's how we get around the cap. Oh, then how do you prove he's hurt? I guess there are ways to do that, but it's a long, complicated. You could say, what if this? What if that?
Right.
Well, the way I see it too is,
what if the other team got to pick a player to play goal? Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn's your goalie tonight. that
I would love it.
That would be great.
Oh hell no! I'd pick like Jason Robertson.
True.
Take him out of the game.
You had that on the screen. Ken Morris says hello, Kurt. He should have said hello, Barbie. I could have said hello, Ken.
Kurt, you like my little design there in the background?
I do. Did you make that?
You're the man who usually covers that.
Did you make that?
I was proud of myself.
I saw it.
No, I totally stole it.
I had the show on driving home from the store, and I saw, that is nice. Very festive. Very nice.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays,
what I do.
everyone.
Yes, agree. In this game, the Blues trailed 2-0 early, but bounced back, took the 3-2 lead, but lost it in the third, only to win it in OT. So here's my story. I'm gonna talk real quick about Parayko's OT winner. So I went with my hockey guys. So a lot of guys, I'll list off some names. A lot of them actually listen to the show. Jason Miller, who's also crappy goalie. Greg Hotard, Scott McGillicuddy, Scott Gordon, and there was one more, and I feel like Dan Krause. So Jason Miller is notorious for having to pee all the time. He has the world's tiniest bladder. Whoa. So literally,
didn't think you were going to say bladder,
a point,
but okay.
That too. I wouldn't know. So literally to the point where, and I've gone to games with him millions of times, where he literally will walk down, we'll go to the bathroom together at an intermission, and then before intermission ends, he'll go back and pee again just to make sure he's not going to have to get up in the middle of the next period. So third period ends, tie game. He stands up and he's like, I can't hold it. I got to go pee. And we all look at him like, are you, dude, overtime starting, hold it. And he's like, I can't. It'll probably just go to a shootout anyway. And we're like, what? We're like, dude, and I even told him, I'm like, man, if I had to pee really bad, there is nothing you could do to get me up from my seat. I would literally piss myself in my seat before I'd get up for overtime. That's crazy to me. If it's playoffs, I get it to a certain extent. But 3-on-3, no. You're not getting me up, because there's a good chance that game's ending quick. And it did. 37 seconds in. So next time you see crappy goalie, give him shit because he missed the winner. He was in the bathroom at the time.
Probably nobody else was in the bathroom too. because people know better.
I'm sure. Yep. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, you are the worst hockey fan ever. How dare you? I'm offended to be your friend.
It's only 5 minutes long. Overtime.
I know. It's what I said. I was like, I even thought that. I go, he probably would have a better chance of going pee after overtime if it goes to a shootout, and then getting back before the shootout starts.
He left after regulation.
Yeah.
Okay. So he basically was gone in a few minutes.
Yeah. Buzzer goes and he stands up and he's like, I gotta pee. And we're like, what?
Now, if you're in a private booth or like the Bomberito suites we're in, when you can get in and out real quick, it's right there. That's a different story.
Yep. Even the club seats, I would say, because you could like run up those stairs. Those bathrooms are usually open, run back down, and you're good. When you're in we were in the 300, we're like 331 and like row K. Like you got to go down the stairs, go out to the bathroom, come back, go back up the stairs. There's no way. There's not enough time.
See, there's a okay. So I don't know the science behind it, but when you have to go, and it gets really bad, but then it like subsides, for a little while. It's like comes and goes, right? So it's like maybe that's a individual bladder thing, but for whatever reason, and I think this is true with most people, that if you hold it and you don't go for a while, it kind of subsides and goes away for a little bit, then it comes back with a force later. But it comes in waves, more or less.
It's the same with number 2.
Oh yeah, number 2 especially. You can hold number 2 for weeks.
There's a great Seinfeld episode about that.
Well, there's
Kramer
actually
missing his chance.
There's a true story about a guy who was arrested, swallowed some drugs or something, and they were waiting for him to pass the drugs, and he refused to crap, and they had him in jail for like a month, and he refused to crap for a month, and they finally just let him go.
God.
They say your body
you can die from that.
You can, but it takes a long time apparently.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Apparently, this guy has intestinal fortitude.
Well,
woo.
Maybe that's where that term comes from.
Yeah. It's a great point. So yeah, this was an exciting game. There was a lot of back and forth.
This was a great game.
And this was one of those games, and we'll talk very briefly about the Lightning game coming up. This was one of those games they went down 2-0, and I was like, obviously you're like, especially when you're at the game, like, well, this kind of sucks. But I was like, it's all right. Like I had this feeling like they'll at least get a goal and make it interesting going into the third or something. And I mean, I didn't get that feeling last night, but I had that feeling all throughout this game until they finally tied it. I thought, man, this is still an exciting game. The Blues are playing well. They had that defensive breakdown on the who scored that one? The nice passing play between the Stars. I know Sagan was involved. I know he didn't score it, but they had a couple really nice
Marchment,
goals.
the first goal?
Yes.
The first goal?
Yes.
Marchment's goal?
Marchment. Yeah. Binnington had no chance. Beautiful bad passing play. Yeah. But they had some breakdowns, don't get me wrong. But I thought overall, Blues were playing well enough. I'm like, they're still going to be in this game, especially if you run the goalie and you bring Joe O'Brien in.
First time this season, I don't know if you mentioned this, that the Blues have come back from 2-goal deficit. So
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Impressive.
First time they won without scoring first, right?
No,
that's not right.
That was the case up until recently, though. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And they also lost a game when scoring first, I think, the other day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I know you guys talked about Kyrou earlier. And then so after this game, he's the number 1 star. Is that where you're going with this?
Well, I mean, we already talked about that part too. But I'll just say, and Kurt, I'll give you some space here to talk if you want. Kyrou had 3 points in this game, number 1 star, and obviously had the nice breakaway goal. As I said earlier, being at the game, that was one of the best moments that I've been able to witness live because it was clear how important that was to him and the crowd. But yeah, go ahead, Kurt, if you have anything you want to add about the whole Kyrou situation.
Well, I mean, you guys covered it a lot, but I just wanted to say that, God forbid fans voice their displeasure at anything by booing. The fans have a right to boo. You may disagree with it, and that's fine. That's your right to disagree with it. But my opinion, he was rightfully booed, no question. You don't. There are 100 different ways he could have answered that question, and I think he chose poorly. And I heard you mention, Jeff, that some people said, "Well, he said no comment." It's what well, how you mad at that? Come on, are you people are that naive that they think that what he said means no comment? He said no, I have no comment on it, and then he commented. So I mean, if you have no comment, don't comment. He said I had no comment. It was he's not my coach anymore. And I'm like, that's what, even the no comment would have been bad because, people knew there was a rift there between the two. And it was a good question. People ripping on the JR for that question. It was a fucking great question. That's what people want to hear.
That's what bothers me, man. It's both sides of the spectrum here. Like, how many times, and we hear this more than anything probably from St. Louis fans, the media's too soft. They don't ask the important questions. And then when they do, they get demonized for it.
This wasn't even a hard-hitting question. It's a legit, this question should have been expected to some degree. He should have had something ready to go, and he didn't. And, there's nothing wrong with booing him over that. You're as a fan base, you don't have a lot of opportunity to voice your displeasure with the team aside from booing or calling in Sports Open Line, right, and complaining. You boo when and it was a
writing a letter to the editor in the newspaper.
Writing a sternly worded letter to the editor, right? Yeah, I thought, and when he got booed, I was like, good, because he needs to get called out on this. He can't just be this. He had a reputation, justified or not, of being this, overpaid underachiever, spoiled brat. That whether or not that was rightfully assigned to him or not, that was the perception of him for a lot of fans, because he was underachieving. He was already kind of a whipping boy, and with fans, he was having a struggle in the season. So if he was having a fantastic season this year, it's honestly probably a different comment. A different reaction from the fans. But if the fact that there was no comment, then there was a snide comment right after it towards Berube, and then add on that he wasn't producing like expected, and actually, his shooting percentage was like 5%. It was something that's terrible. So he wasn't producing, and the fans were getting annoyed. So it's like, all that combined, the fans were like, "Fuck this shit." This is ridiculous. You got to produce, and you're kind of dissing the coach that we loved, that brought us a Stanley Cup, and it was a subtle diss. And the fans aren't stupid, which is what I think JR said, that fans are stupid. They picked up on that easy. And again, then he has the great game. The fans cheer him, and he, it's all back and forth. Fans want to love these players. St. Louis fans want to love these players so much. Put forth your effort. You don't even have to produce. Just bust your ass. If you bust your ass out there, fans see it. It is what it is. And
there's plenty of examples of what you're saying, and I'll throw one out. Number 4, not Eric Brewer, Carl Gunnarsson.
Yeah.
I thought largely his Blues career, he was not worth what he was paid. He was a kind of a pile-on at times. I don't know if he was facing injury or what, but guess what? He scored the game-winning goal for the first ever Blues Stanley Cup final win.
Yep.
He is going to go down as a legend forever. It's the same thing.
Bertuzzo.
You have moments. Yeah,
Bertuzzo.
You have moments.
He's a love player. He busts his ass out there. The fans like Bertuzzo. He doesn't get. How often do you see Bertuzzo vilified? Aside from not being a great defenseman, which everyone knows he's not. Right. He's a third pairing guy, and fans accept that. I think fans generally love Bertuzzo for what he was. So he tried. He left it all on the ice.
Well, something we never got to. Bill, you feel free to comment here. I know we're kind of going back to a story that we already talked about, but something I forgot to mention. Yeah, well, I wanted your take on this, honestly, Kurt. You're a fiery guy. I wanted to hear what you had to say, but and I know you're passionate about this as I am. But no, so I
only passionate because
JR
of the backlash against the response. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was that
right.
kind of
I'm with
fired
you.
me up even more. I was like, who the
Oh,
fuck are you
me
people
too.
telling me I can't boo or feel emotional about this
I'll
whole
say what
situation?
I've said forever. If you are paying for a ticket
Yeah.
to a Blues game, you are allowed to do whatever the hell you want as long as you're not disrupting people around you and you're not hurting players on the
Don't
ice,
throw
shit on the
right,
ice
right.
within
Sure.
reason. You are allowed to react to whatever you want any way you want.
And some folks came out and said this is a bad look for Blues fans. I'm like, no, this shows that they're passionate, paying attention, and they fucking care. They're not going to let somebody get away with this.
I don't remember who the reporter was, but there was a reporter for another team who posted all he or she saw was the video of him crying and said, "Wow, bad look for Blues fans." And then somebody commented and said, "Did you see his original comments about Berube?" and tagged Rutherford's quote. And then the person even responded back and said, "Oh, I didn't know that. I take it back." Yeah, because they weren't just booing him to boo him. There was a reason.
There was a whole bunch of stuff that factor into this, not just the comment either. It was his lack of production. It was the fact that Berube was loved by the fan base. And the worst thing this fan base could have done was do nothing, not react at all. Yeah. And that means the players can get away with anything. And the fan base just can get the fan base doesn't care. They'll get walked all over by the players. They're not paying attention. I think this shows that the fan base is smart, paying attention. And even if you disagree with the booing, you have to respect the fact that the fan base is actively paying attention to what's going on and doesn't let and identifies what was said was a little bit of a slight towards Berube. So.
Well, and the thing I wanted to ask both of you, and again, we can keep this as short or as long as you want. Rutherford basically came out with another story the next day and explained the whole situation in The Athletic and said, basically apologized for, in a way, for what was said and how there was some context left out. The other context, which I mentioned earlier, was his stuff about we're excited to get Bannister in here and, we're going to see if we can get our culture back and blah, 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 blah. Like it was stuff about that looking toward the future kind of stuff. I feel like even if Rutherford were able to fit the rest of what he said about Bannister in his commentary, in his original tweet, I don't think that adds a whole lot for me. I look at it and I'm like, okay, he's still basically slighting Berube by saying, he's not my coach anymore. I'm excited to see this new guy because he's not Berube, basically, is the way I read that.
Right.
So,
and
that, am I wrong?
No, I think everybody would have dissected that and gotten to that because that's how social media is, right? Find the most negative thing and attack it. And that's what happened. Right. But there, JR, I said in our group text, right, good on JR for coming out and trying to add the context and clarify it. But at the end of the day, right, it's a controversy, right? It's rightfully so. And, it's as we said before, or as you and I said before, and Kurt, hopefully you agree with us, that this is, if this leads to Kyrou becoming a more mature person, all the better.
How can it not?
Oh yeah.
I think this is the definition of a learning experience for everyone.
Yeah.
At both sides. And what I liked about this was, the back and forth discussion from those who agreed with the booing and didn't like what Kyrou said, and to those who thought what Kyrou said was nothing and hated the booing. I thought the discussion, even though it got kind of heated online, I thought it was a good discussion. I thought it was interesting where both sides were coming from. And even though I'm heavily entrenched and I'll die on that fucking hill that the booing was justified. And when I heard it, I was glad because a player is being held accountable for what he said and by the fan base. And I think that's important. Especially a player at his age and when he's not producing and when he said what he said. And he realized what he said was wrong. He fucking apologized and was emotional about it. And it showed he cares.
Yeah.
And that's important too, because the fan base is like, oh, well, he okay. Well, because he kind of was given a vibe of, maybe not caring, got the big contract and just kind of floating along.
Right.
But he cares.
Spoiled guy who was kind of happy that coach he didn't like was gone.
Sure. And players aren't always going to like their coaches. There's a lot of players that don't like their coaches. That's just the way it is. I mean, and doesn't affect their play necessarily. I'm not saying that Berube's coaching style affected Kyrou's play. I mean, that remains to be seen. And whatever, he played great under Berube last season as far as offensive abilities go. So, at the end of the day,
I aken it to okay. There's the whole discussion of when some people are saying, "Oh, he's a kid." He's not a kid. He's 25 fucking years old. Right. Like he's an adult.
He just got cheaper insurance. That's that last milestone, right? 25 years old, cheaper insurance. That's the last milestone
he can bring under 18-year-olds into Dave and Buster's after hours now. So good for him.
And let me say this too.
No,
I was on boat with booing Kyrou. I love Kyrou. You can love a player and boo him at the same time. I agree. That is, and 99% of the fans probably that are booing love the guy and want him to succeed.
Right.
I love the shit out of Chris Pronger. But if he would have come out and been like, you know what? I support Nazis. I'd boo the shit out of him. Yeah. Not saying that's obviously an extreme situation.
We're not aware of Pronger supporting any Nazi organization.
No, that is not
completely
hypothetical. Don't put me on YouTube, as that one reporter said.
Wait,
no,
you put yourself on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. I'm on YouTube right now. As my coworkers call me, I'm YouTube famous, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Regionally, YouTube.
Regionally, I like to say regionally famous.
YouTube noticeable. How's that?
Yes, I'll take that. That's awesome. I like that. I might change my. I'll change my Twitter name to that.
Regionally,
I was. What I was going to say is, one time I remember having to tell my niece. She pushed my other niece down, and I yelled at her and said, "Don't do that." And she just said, "I'm sorry," and just like gave me this look and said, "I'm sorry." You're not sorry. And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You literally are not sorry. You just said I'm sorry. It doesn't mean you mean it." And then I got mad at her again and she cried. And I'm like, "Go ahead and cry. I'm not going to feel bad for you." Then she finally went up to her sister and she said, "I'm really sorry I did that." She looked at me and I'm like, "I'm sorry, Uncle Jeff." And I'm like, that's the key right there. You actually showed remorse for your actions. And I feel like that's what Kyrou did. He literally, after the game, and it's not even the tears. I think even before the tears came, it was pretty clear he was sincere. Like, holy shit, I fucked up. I'm humbled. Oops.
Well,
let's try and make this right.
But isn't the whole thing around this team, everything got stagnant, right? And this is the first time we're seeing that, the tears part of blood, sweat, and tears. Right, the passion of the player, right, the passion of the fan base getting pissed off at him, and maybe this really is what reinvigorates this team this season.
I love my kids. Once in a while, you gotta punish them. Doesn't mean you don't love them.
Yep.
So,
oh yeah. All right, so in this game, we talked earlier about how the Blues, Brad Richards was brought on, and we already had one game with him kind of surveying things and, didn't see a whole lot of change. I want to say we really didn't see a whole lot of change, I thought, in this power play either, but the Blues did score a power play goal in this. They were 1 for 1, Dallas 0 for 3. Brandon Saad power play goal ended a 20 consecutive power play run without a goal.
You know what I did see? I did notice like a few bumper plays that they didn't try a whole lot of before. I did see a few new types of looks as far as to finding the open man. But as far as moving the puck around the perimeter was kind of the same. But that finishing play where they tried a couple of bumper plays, which I liked. I liked that a lot. I've said before, I like the fake shot to the guy in the soft spot where he redirects it on goal. I like that play too. Basically anything that's not like a direct shot on net from the point, I like in the power play.
Agree. Yep. Yeah, and I thought again, like, and I said this today about the Lightning game. A lot of people after this next game we'll talk about here very briefly were pissed, saying like, same old Blues, it wasn't the coach, blah. And it's like, no, you get the honeymoon phase where it's like you're gonna just the players are just gonna play better because they know they're under fire now because they just got their coach fired. But it's not like Drew Bannister stepped in on Wednesday and then on Thursday they're playing this whole new style. That's not how it works. It's the same thing here with the power play. Like Brad Richards, yes, he already stepped in, I'm sure, first day and was like, oh, well, I watched some of your old tape and noticed XYZ. It's going to be the same thing here. Oh, well, now that you implemented this, let's implement this. It's going to be gradual. There's still going to be some times where we look at the Blues power play and say, what the fuck? But I think the next 2 to 3 weeks, then we look back at the power play and say, okay, how has it looked since Brad Richards has gotten involved?
Okay, so here's the thing, though, is that when we talked about when Berube got fired, we talked about this team was pretty much in the standings where we expected them to be. So, I mean, I was listening to the radio this morning, today, and I heard them talking about, some people were calling in, and even the radio guys, talking about, oh, this needs to improve. This didn't look good at all. Blah blah blah. They're kind of up in arms, upset, angry, whatever. And I'm like, again, we talked about this last week. It's like when I hear that from fans, it's like, what were your expectations going into this season? Like you're what you're demanding of this team is play that's so much improved and consistent that they'd be much farther up in the standings. Like they were complaining, like Randy Carricker's show this morning on 101. They were complaining the Blues just aren't consistent. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of where an inconsistent team is in the standings. They're kind of in the middle of the pack. And that's where the Blues are. And that's where that's where we thought they were going to be. So it's like, if they're more consistent, then they're going to be exceeding expectations coming into the season. So it's interesting to me that even though this team was a fringe playoff team coming into the season, and that's where they are right now, people are angry, irritated, upset about their inconsistent play when that's what they should have been expecting, because that's what this team is.
Yeah,
I don't know what people want. I mean, they want this team to be. I'd love this team to be a first place team, but I don't think if you ask those same fans, "Oh, is this team a first place team, cup contender?" No. Well, then what do you? So, but you want them to play that way, but you say they're not that team. So how can they be that team if they're not that team? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think people just struggle with the fact that they're not a contender anymore.
But they're the same kind of team that they were. They were better than this prior to the Cup, but still, it's frustrating to me because you say one thing coming into the season, and the team and fans will rightly say, "Oh, this team's a middle of the pack team. That's what they should be." But then they complain when they're in the middle of the pack, and it's like, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Welcome to fandom,
right? It's the nature of fandom, right?
I
right?
But temporary expectations. I don't know. What to tell people.
Yeah, we can win at any point. Look what happened in 2019. Why aren't they doing that now?
Well,
right.
It's funny because you said, Jeff, that a lot of folks were like, well, they played poorly against Tampa Bay and lost, and they're like, this is the same old team. The coach didn't make a difference. They lost one fucking game. But also, looking back at Berube, if you want to compare it to Berube, he was like a 500 coach or under 500 after, 15, 20 games as a coach?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes people just knee-jerk reactions just don't make any sense from
I remember we had a discussion. I would love to pull some tape, and I might do that since I've got all next week off. I remember us having a discussion that year that they looked so bad under Berube at the start. we said, are we going to see 2 coach firings this year? Like we
Because they lost a
actually
couple of
had that
bad
discussion.
games.
Yeah.
I think the difference between that season and this season is that going into that season, I felt, and a lot of people felt, this team was a cup contender, a legit cup contender. They made all the right moves, but in my mind, we had the wrong coach.
Oh,
and
100%.
with Yo,
1,000%.
Yeah, so it was like,
Right.
and that's not hindsight. I never liked Yo. Didn't think he was going to take us anywhere.
When they started like really building a cup roster, like it was like they're going after it. It was like, why the fuck do you have Mike Yo behind the bench?
Yeah.
Right. And it was right around the time of the Bortuzzo Sanford dust up in practice that Armstrong had to come out and give Berube a vote of confidence. Right. He's going to need a little bit of time to turn this around. Right. So then, we all know the story, right? The Bortuzzo Sanford dust up, and, then Chad Johnson gets, moved
waived
to Anaheim. Yeah, it gets waived, and Anaheim picks him up, and Billy Husso's injured. So, we called it. What about Binnington?
Yeah.
What about Binnington?
It's funny.
Why not Binnington?
That's not going to happen again this year, right?
It's funny because
we expect it to.
When the team isn't playing poorly, isn't playing well like last game. I mean, yeah, I'm watching the game. I'm frustrated, irritated, seeing things that they should be doing better but aren't. I get it, but I'm not angry, irritated, mad because my expectations for this team are, they're inconsistent. I understand that, and I'm not demanding consistency every game because I don't think this team has that in them. Unless there's a drastic philosophy change amongst the entire group that does make a difference, with the new coach in place, and it takes time, and they all come together. I guess that's possible, but they need some changes personnel wise. They need to move a couple of guys out, get a couple of guys in, get some young guys in. They got a few good prospects coming up, hopefully. So I don't
Zach
know. I'm just
comes to mind.
Who?
Zach Bolduc. Yeah,
Bolduc?
yeah, Zach
I never
Bolduc.
heard of him.
Yep. No, I
39
actually,
games.
I will say the only time last game that I was a little annoyed was because I felt like the defense kind of gave up. And I say defense, I mean defensive game in general with the forwards too. I felt like once they were down 3-0, they were just like, all right, either we're going to score some goals or we're just going to lose. And it was like defensive side of the puck, they didn't give a shit.
Wasn't that, I mean, didn't they have that look a lot of times last year too? I mean, they were bad last year defensively, but they had that look of giving up sometimes too. It's just like they didn't care, obviously. I think that's just kind of the mojo of this parts of this team, even though the defense was playing pretty well to start the season. I don't know. I'm
and I think they still have some really, really nice games, but
that's the thing.
Real quick, it seems like we've already pivoted to last night, so let's go ahead and get into it. Blues get stomped by the Lightning 6-1 Tuesday night. Shots in the game 33-29 Tampa Bay. Binnington 18 for 23, but he got pulled out in the second period. And Joel Hofer came in, did give up a goal, 9 on 10 shots. So 9 saves on 10 shots. But yeah, so in this game, I mean, complete awful defense.
I think
you're going to say 2 goals on Binnington that you didn't like? Is that what you're going to say?
Well, at least 1, maybe 2. But the first 2 goals against him, you talk about garbage, crap, lucky goals for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
The shot that goes off, like it was punched in with a glove when he was trying to, I don't know what he was trying to do. And then the second one was like a goalmouth scramble that was just like gets poked in by a guy on his knees.
The first one was the bad play by Binnington behind the net.
Right.
Bounced off the stick.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that puck was coming around fast. They mentioned on the broadcast, and it hit the top of his stick. I mean, it popped up. So
but I mean, you got. Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill. Sorry, you have to blame the goalie on that one.
No,
it was just a bad misplay.
No, it's funny because like I told Jeff before the show, I watched this game mostly on fast forward. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing with everything that's going on right now. I watched the first 2 goals, and after that first goal, I said he doesn't have it tonight. This is not a good night. They probably should think about a goalie change. And when it got to 3-0, I thought that's when they should have done it. Right.
Yeah.
And here tonight's the show that Kurt's defending Binnington, and I'm like, nope, he sucked. He sucked real hard tonight.
The fourth goal I thought was really bad.
The wrist shot,
one that went through his legs.
Yeah, he saw it the whole way. That was bad. No,
the way he looked up in the sky too, I was like, pull him. You got to pull him here.
He didn't have his normal like great game against Tampa Bay at all. But I'm gonna, he plays the puck a lot behind the net. We want him doing that, and it just,
Hofer's better at that though.
Okay, well, yeah, but I'd still take Binnington and net against Tampa Bay. The puck comes around the boards and it hops up and hits off the top of his blade and comes around, and he's back in net in time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But then that shot that goes wide that hits off of a glove and just completely redirects a 90-degree angle in the net. It's like, that was bad luck.
There's no reason for that goal to stand. Right.
Thankfully
the Blues. Right. Thankfully the Blues didn't challenge that. That was something that the NHL called down. But you got to think, if the NHL is calling it down, it's got to come back. Right. It's like VAR in soccer. Right. They're telling you to go look at this. Yeah. It's coming back.
If it was
there's no reason for that goal to stand.
If it was an issue where his hands are on his stick and he doesn't punch forward, and it just hits off his glove and goes in, obviously it's a goal. But he extends out and it hits his glove hand and goes in. His hand's on his stick, but still, it's clearly his hand that punches the puck in.
I just got to say, that's what I had to switch to the Tampa broadcast. Luckily, I have that option, but I was so annoyed with Rivers and Kelly. Like, well, the Blues are challenging. Blues challenge. They said the Blues were challenging like 5 times. And I'm like, this is not a Blues challenge. Every time a team challenges, they announce it over the intercom. They didn't do that. That is clearly an NHL challenge. So that annoyed the piss out of me. And Bill, I'm with you too.
Kelly.
The fact the NHL called down, I was like, okay, that means it's probably coming back.
And Kelly said they were challenging for a missed whip on a hand pass.
Hand pass.
Yeah.
Right. It's like,
I was like, what game are you watching?
The worst possible speculation you could make. Right?
Yeah, he did it. He did correct himself and said, my mistake, that was not the case. But I was like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, that was
so insane. I didn't like that goal against. I thought if he's like I said, if he's just, if it hits his glove and goes in, it's a goal. But if he extended his arm. So he's punching it towards the net, and I don't see how that's a goal. It needs to be explained to me, I guess.
Right.
I guess because his hand was on the stick,
but he still punches forward. He still punches forward.
I agree. I'm just trying to think of the NHL's justification on it.
It's got to maybe they're considering the hand as part of the stick. It's on the stick.
Yeah, say they consider the hand as an extension of the stick, basically.
I assume so. But it seems weird because he's not. I don't know. It's
like I don't understand how that's different from literally him just going like that. Like, how is him just because he's holding his stick? That's okay, but this isn't.
So if you take a slap shot and the puck deflects off of a stick while you're in the act of shooting, before it gets to you, and it deflects up and hits off your glove while you're swinging your stick to shoot, and it hits off the fingers of your glove and goes in. That seems different to me.
That's got to count. I would say by last night's standards, that would count.
Yeah, and that situation seems different to me than this out of midair. You know what I mean? He's not shooting; he's deflecting, and he's punching forward. I don't know. I'm maybe being overly picky and a little biased here, but it seems like there's some difference there.
But I don't know. To me, the fact that it was Wes McCauley right on the call to make the announcement, it's almost like the NHL, like the way that he does it. It's like the NFL or the NHL said, "Well, you're a most seasoned veteran. You get to make this call and make it as dramatic as possible." Right? That's
does do that.
Right? It's like. Did he have the discretion to overrule the NHL in this play because it was the call on the ice was a goal, right? And they're not gonna, he's not gonna take it away. I don't know. It at the end of the day, to me, it should not have been a goal. And it's the I'm glad the Blues weren't the ones that challenged it. It seemed like because that sets up Drew Bannister as the guy that's not playing the odds, right? He's 2 games or 3 games and 2 challenges. That was the other thing that Rivers and Kelly pointed out incorrectly. That doesn't portend well, right? You got a video crew that had been spot on early in the season, and you come in here and get two things that go against you right away. That's not portending well. But end of the day, it's the NHL's call, and I just think they got it wrong.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. So the good news out of this game, if you want to try and find the silver lining, they did score a power play goal. I wish I would have looked this up before, but it just struck me. That is 2 power play goals in 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the first time this season?
It
is.
Good. Okay. So Blues scored another power play goal in this game. Yes, they lost 6-1, but the silver lining, power plays clicking a little bit. Justin Faulk scored his first of the season as well. That was something else that was nice to see, because I think we all kind of felt, when is this guy going to fucking score? Like a Scott Gomez kind of thing. We know he's going to score. When is it going to happen?
How many shots did they say he had? He had without scoring. It was a lot. He
was like second among defensemen on shots, I think, behind Kyrou.
Shots on goal. I'm looking up here. Shots. He had 74. 1 goal and 74 shots so far this season. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, good for him. And I thought that was a great fucking shot too. And I think that kind of, to me, like the pass across to him, and then he just ripped a wrister. That's the kind of thing we need to see more of on the power play. Like
wrister through traffic, somebody taking
just get it
Batsey's
through.
eyes away. Yeah.
Don't, like, if you've got shin guards right in front of you, don't shoot it, but otherwise put it on net. See what happens. So Binnington goes 18 for 23, Hofer 9 for 10. Hofer's first action in a little while. Hofer's first action with his old Springfield Thunderbirds coach, Drew Bannister, behind the helm. So next up for the Blues, who are right now sitting at 500. Thursday, they will play the Florida Panthers, another tough opponent in Florida, at 6 o'clock. Saturday, they'll play the Blackhawks at 7 o'clock. And then they will have their Christmas break. Wednesday, they will resume action versus the Dallas Stars at 7 o'clock. Also should note that right now is the NHL trade freeze. So for those of you who are wondering if the Blues are looking to trade Verana or anyone else, that will not happen at least till, I think it's the day after Christmas when that ends. But either way, trade freeze going on right now. So, rapid fire tidbits from around the NHL. This was already kind of discussed a little bit earlier. The Senators are the next team to fire their coach. They fired DJ Smith as their head coach and named Jacques Martin as their interim head coach.
He's still living?
He is still living. I was surprised. When they said that, I was like, that's his son, right? Like, that guy's still around?
Jacques Martin was the coach of the Blues in 1987. I was in grade school.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Grinch. You two were still living?
Yes. Nice reference. It's because I'm green, isn't it? That's one of my favorite lines in cinema.
This is not pudding. What is it?
Senators made the announcement a day after Ottawa lost its 4th straight game with a 6-3 defeat to the Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday. So they had lost to the Blues, then they lost to the Stars, then they lost again to the Golden Knights. Senators have missed the playoffs for 4 straight seasons under Smith. They were 12 points behind the Washington Capitals for the final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference at the time of the firing. They are now 13 points behind Tampa for the second wild card spot in the East.
Aren't they supposed to win a cup this year?
Yeah, this is the year.
This is the year they're supposed to win the cup.
So Jacques Martin, his first time behind the bench with the Senators. Well, actually, I'm sorry. He has coached the Senators before, but this iteration of him coaching the Senators, they had a 3-0 lead 6 minutes into the second period against the Coyotes last night, and they lost that game 4-3. So Ottawa, just a fucking shit show right now. I mean, they're slowly moving out the people they've needed to move out. I don't know if I want to put DJ Smith in that category, but obviously they lost Pierre Dorian earlier this year. Lots of issues with the Ottawa Senators, but we'll see. Maybe they're starting to right the ship. A lot of people think Craig Berube will be interviewing for that job.
That would be interesting. And I've seen Pierre LeBrun's trade rumblings, including a Tarasenko on the block teaser there.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't, as far as I know, I mean, Tarasenko and Berube had a good relationship, right? So maybe they do go to him and say, hey, what do you think of Craig Berube? And he'd say, fuck yeah, bring him in. He won us a cup.
Well, you know how people are kind of down on Kyrou's production. He has more points than Tarasenko.
Tarasenko's having a rough year in Ottawa.
6 goals, 13 points. So
yeah, he's been a little stake bitten offensively. I've seen.
Who didn't see that coming though? I mean,
I did, but I will say, kind of same as Kyrou. I've seen him have a lot of good chances, but just couldn't bury it. Good goaltending, good save, but yeah, at the same time, dude's known for having an elite shot, so he should be finding holes more.
After he dusts it off. I still don't understand why he went there as a free agent. It's weird to me.
I don't think anybody else was looking.
He could have lowered his asking price, I guess. Maybe that's the most money he was offered for 1 year. Although I heard he was offered 2 and 3 year contracts, but chose to go to Ottawa for 1 year. I don't know.
I don't know. I think also you have to consider, we talked about this kind of thing with Kane earlier, or a couple weeks ago. I think he thinks maybe if I play well with this, what is supposed to be a potent Ottawa offense, I get traded at the deadline to a contender, and then maybe I re-sign with them for a lot more money next year when the cap goes up.
Their potent offense is 91 goals. 91 goals. And that's 2 more goals than the Blues have scored. And we've had massive offensive problems. So
Yep. They've struggled. This has been a rough year for Ottawa.
They're 1 point ahead of the last place in the NHL. They have 22 points, and it's just Chicago and San Jose have 21. So
remember how the Blues were going to finish last in the entire NHL
this year?
Yeah, that's what a lot of the pundits said.
Oh, did they last?
Yeah. A couple people said. I think Wyshynski, Dom. I think he was one of the ones that picked him to finish last. And I was like, really? Have you seen the Blackhawks roster?
Yeah, that's a stupid thing to say. I mean, it's one thing to think this team is not going to be great this season, but to pick them last, you're trolling somebody. That's just stupid.
Right. A lot of the early season power rankings had the Blues like down in the bottom 5, and
I never thought that was the case.
No. I thought Armstrong was almost too candid and too right with his, our best case scenario is fighting for third. Right. I feel like that's where we all kind of were, when we were doing our season preview show, and it's proven true so far.
Yeah. 31 points. And we're 9 points out of third right now. So we're looking more like a wild card team right now, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, we're out of that too right now. So
right.
Baby steps.
No, I mean, my prediction was battling for the second wild card.
Yeah.
Same the last 2 seasons. And I think that's where we are.
It's Arizona. So they're not going to stay there.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Connor Ingram is a hell of a goalie for them right now.
Right.
I don't think. I think they'll slowly just fade.
I like Arizona. I really do. I think they finish ahead of the Blues in the standings.
I'm not saying that won't happen. I don't think Arizona makes the playoffs, though.
I think they'll at least be battling until game 79, 80. They're a good team. I like what they got going in Arizona.
They look good against the Blues. That's for sure.
Well, yes.
At least when
that is
Connor Ingram's in net.
Yeah.
They've, for some reason, they've had the Blues number the last 3 years or so. I don't get it.
Go back to that 7-game series in the pandemic year.
Yep.
They won that 4 games to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. That was annoying.
It was so annoying.
Well, anything else, boys?
No, sir.
No?
No. It's I guess yeah. Are we doing an in-person thing next week, boys?
Yeah, I think next week. So, well, here's an idea. We have not talked about this, throwing it out there. Wednesday, they do play Dallas at 7:00. We could do a post-game show together and watch the game together. Can't do Wednesday? Never mind. Terrible idea.
Well, I mean, next week is actually extremely busy for me personally. If we want to get together, I don't know. Maybe we should
Tuesday. Maybe Thursday.
I don't know.
Yeah,
or maybe the following week even.
Yeah. Tuesday would be it would have to be super late for me.
Okay.
So
yeah, I just say because I know we're all off next week, so that's why I thought next week.
Yeah, I know. It would be nice for that reason, but my schedule next week is pretty busy.
Okay. Maybe we just do the next week then. I'd be fine with that.
Let me see. Next we see the.
I mean, I could even. Like I said, I got the week off. I could even do like Monday, Thursday. I got nothing planned next week. So why don't we talk off air? We'll figure it out.
We could do Tuesday next week, maybe.
Bill says he can't.
Okay.
Unless it's super late, like 9:00, which is our normal time,
I was gonna say that's about the time we start.
Yeah.
Well, I say because my kids are off through Wednesday, so that'd be, and I work from home. I wouldn't have to get up as early on the next morning, but yeah, and whatever.
I thought you were off next week.
I'm talking the week after.
Oh,
I'm talking.
I
the
can't even. Yeah. I can't even tell you about what's going on.
Okay. Well, next week I don't. Next week it's not very good.
All right.
Yeah, let's save this.
We'll just have a regular show next week.
Edit this shit out tomorrow.
Yeah. What the hell are we doing? We should be having this conversation off air.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and say this now. I think everybody at Let's Go Blues Radio would like to wish, and this includes Austin, even though we don't know his whereabouts. But Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. We'll say Happy New Year next week, but Happy Boxing Day, Ken, and all the big holidays.
Kwanzaa?
Happy Kwanzaa, yeah, 100%. So, yep, everyone here at Let's Go Blues Radio wishes you guys all the very best. And again, in this season of giving, season of caring, we want to thank you all for listening to the show as you do every week. Without you all, we would not still be doing this 13 seasons later. So thank you very much, everybody, for your support and for your love of Let's Go Blues Radio. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rocketnetidlife.com for more information. That's rocketnetidlife.com, and get 10% off by emailing Dustin at rocketnetidlife.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Mike Burgoyne. I just lost my script. From Real Brokerage Realty. Email him at mike@strikewithmike.com today for all of your home buying and selling needs. That's strikewithmike.com. I'm sorry, that's mike@strikewithmike.com. That will wrap up episode 11 of season 13 of the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks for those who participated in the live chat during the show. We hope you enjoyed listening to the show as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. For Bill Day and Kurt Price, as well as the eyes wide shut, loving Austin. I'm Jeff Bonder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Let's go Blues.
Yes, let's go Blues. Bon Noel.
Happy holidays from Channel 5.
Papa Gijo. Oh, I'm supposed to be handling this.
Oh, I can do it.
No, I got it.
All right.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
You thought I was going to say, son of a bitch, didn't you?